What's up, guys, and welcome to the first pumping tutorial. As the time of this video, the pumping update is not out, but this will prep you for it. Today we're going to be going over the basic hydrant operations of establishing a water supply, deploying the first due engine, as well as getting a line in service. So for starters, we'll go ahead and go over the truck first. So each truck is set up a bit different. Some have connections in the front, the rear, the front, and the passenger side. If I said the front twice, I meant the driver's side. Typically, your pump is going to be found on the driver's side. However, some trucks are set up a little bit different, and the pump can be found on the rear and in other spots. To start everything off, we'll just look at the pump. All your discharges are color coded. So discharge 3 and 4 are both. Here's one of them, yellow. Another discharge, green, is on the front. And this truck also has two other discharges on the other side. There are two types of discharges. You have your small discharges, which mean you can pull a fire hose off with it. Go ahead and drop that and save that for later. And then you have your larger discharges that can be used to supply other fire trucks with water. I have simplified the pumping to make sure you can only connect input to outputs and outputs to inputs. It makes everything easy, and it will pretty much ensure that you don't hook an intake to an intake and stuff like that. We actually will put this back. All right. So what you want to do first, if you're wanting to get water from a hydrant, you can go ahead and open your pump menu. Find an intake around the truck. So we have one here. On this truck, we also have one on the front. So we'll use the one on the front since it's closer. We'll go ahead and hook into the hydrant. And we're going to need to go to equipment and get ourselves a hydrant wrench. Alright, as you can see, the line is now charged. We want to go back to our pump. We'll go in first person. Click on pump panel. So these two gauges, the water intake and discharge, are both labeled here as well in the UI. And this is your throttle, which we'll go over in a little bit. This blue button will be removed before it goes to public. It was for a YouTuber friend. So your operation levels control how your pump is going to operate. And all your other levers control how much water you're putting out in each discharge. So to fill from a hydrant, once your intake's connected, you can go ahead and pull. They open up in increments of 10%. So if you pull it all the way out, you'll get 100% of the water. Each hydrant, which will be labeled in the guide, can put out a range of different pressures, and black hydrants are dead, which means you cannot connect to them. So now that we have water coming in, we'll go ahead and send our water down. So you can either grab an intake line off this truck, which has it on its sides, or you can grab a large discharge from this truck. It works both ways. So since we're already back over here, we'll pull discharge 5. And we'll go ahead and connect it into an intake. We'll go ahead on this truck and open up our tank fill since we're going to be bringing in water. We'll go back over this truck. And we'll open up discharge 5. Which the menu's kind of blocking. As you see, discharge 5, as we open it, more water gets sent. So there are two ways that you can send out water. So this truck's throttle is limited to 500, I believe. 350, so even less. If you need to send out more water than your throttle goes up to that you're bringing in, you want to keep your tank to pump closed. If you want to gate a line back and keep it at a certain pressure no matter what, so let's say we only want to give this truck 150 out of our 670, you can set your throttle and pull your tank to pump, and it'll automatically gate this line back to 150. Now, if we hit max throttle, as you can see, we cannot go over this 350. So if we wanted to send more water, we would have to close our tank to pump, which bring it back to its original 670. You can also gate this back manually without the throttle with your tank fill open and give them percentages of the water you're bringing in. So if your throttle is open, your tank to pump's open, you pull that. So it's very important that you do not go over the amount. You cannot put out more water than you're bringing in. If not, your pump will start to overheat. An example of this is if, let's say we're supplying a second truck, pull that out, go up to 400. Let's say we go up to 250, go up to 300. Why not? Let's say we have another line that's operating. As you can see, our pump is starting to overheat. You do have a pump cooler which works once, and then it has a cool down time, and it can buy you a little bit more time to figure out the situation that you're in case you didn't want to just start shutting down lines. You can hit it, and as you can see, it'll drop it a little bit, and then it cools off. It has a cooldown timer. If your pump overheats, it forces all your pressures down to 50, and it will not let you sustain a higher pressure until you fix the issue, which in this case is us putting out more water than we're bringing in. So as you can see, everything dropped to 50. If I try going back up, well, in this case, it did fix itself as soon as I adjusted the throttle. All right. So there's a second way to pump. So we'll go ahead and close all this stuff again. So if you have no water coming in and you want to feed directly off the pump, you want to make sure your tank fill is open. And you want to make sure your tank fill is closed. And make sure your tank to pump's open. So you have no water coming in, but you can still put out water. The way this version works is whatever your throttle's set to, the line will still only stay gated to that. However, in order to open up a second line, you'll have to gate back the first line. If not, you cannot put out more water than your throttle is throttled to, whatever your throttle set to. So in order to fix this, I would just push this back until we're below the 150 mark. As you can see, both are split half and half. I'm gonna do more, then and gate up. Now, if you want to put out more on this line, they're still split 50-50 no matter what. You have to close Discharge 2 to give us a little bit more, and we can pull that. There'll be a full written guide in game on how to do this. So next up, we'll work on getting a line in service. So we'll use this truck. We'll go ahead and pull Discharge 1. As you can see right now, we have no water. In order for a discharge to effectively operate, it needs to be pumped at least 120 pressure-wise. If it is not, you will not get any water. If you go over 180, players will not be able to move when they're flowing water. We'll go ahead and pull that, and then we'll pull our tank to pump. Oh, tank fills open. All right. So we pick up this line. We can now flow water. Now, if I raise this to 190, then I'm running with it. It'll stop you. You will not be able to move until you shut the line down. And that is the basic logistics of supplying from one engine to another and getting a line in service. It may seem confusing, but it really is pretty simple. And there'll be a full guide on it once again. Thank you.